Hi, I'm Mick Miller, Superintendent of Walla Walla Public Schools, and welcome to the Pulse for October. The school year is off to a great start. We've got over 6,000 students in our district, and we are so excited to work with each one of them and their families. In addition, we've hired over 75 new staff members to our district this year who bring great energy and experience and enthusiasm to our district. I'd like to thank our Human Resources Department as well as our business office for doing all the paperwork and processing of all of those new staff. It's a big task, and they do it really, really well. So thank you to those departments. I'd also like to welcome Dr. David Hampson to our Board of Directors. Dr. Hampson was appointed in late August, and he took his seat in September. And we're very, very happy to have Dr. Hampson joining our Board of Directors. This month on the Pulse, we're going to be looking at the Curriculum and Instruction Department, the academic program in the Walla Walla Public Schools. Dr. Linda Boggs heads that department, and she'll be with us and joining us in just a couple minutes. But we're really happy to announce that the district did quite well last year in our state testing, particularly at our high schools, where in all subject areas we were above state average, and we continue to be above state average when it comes to graduation rate. So thank you for joining us on the Pulse this month as we explore the Curriculum and Instruction Department. The academic program in the Walla Walla Public Schools is the core mission of our school district, and in charge of that academic focus is Dr. Linda Boggs, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. Linda, your office oversees that academic program.
It does, and it's broad. It's preschool through post-high school, because we actually have students that come back and finish their high school diploma with us, and so it's everything in between, from students that are gifted and talented to some that need a little bit more time learning a second language or just haven't had exposure that some of our other students have had.
Wow. You've been doing this for how long now?
In education, 27 years, this role 9 years.
9 years, and prior to that, a principal in this district.
Principal at Blue Ridge Elementary. Yeah.
And kind of neat that you're a Walla Walla High School grad that came back.
Blue Devil, true and true.
I love it. What types of initiatives is your office working on this year?
And thank you for the question, because it's one where we've got some things in place and they're not new. We're continuing with, focusing on helping students be just good kids. Academically pushing them to meet the standards that have been set by the state, the Common Core standards. While we had Washington State standards, and there are some changes, in all, I think we were striving towards that anyway. So while we have some tweaks at some different grade levels, I think we're on course. But ultimately, as we're talking about standards-based grading on what students know and not if they turn their homework up on time, we're still looking for all of those to lead to a successful graduate. So when they walk across, whether it's Lincoln High School's graduation platform or WAHI, that they're citizens that are sure of themselves, are good to their fellow man, are ready to take on a career, go in the service, take a job.
Right. You mentioned a couple things here that I want to go into in a little more depth. First, Common Core standards. People have heard about that. They've seen it in the media. What are the Common Core standards?
We've always had some type of expectation set by the state with some local control. Over the last few years, there has been a desire to standardize education in America, and you've seen as many programs where public education is being beat up, and I think the efforts to come together and design what all students should know and be able to do at a minimum before they exit. And so while there is some controversy when you know that the standards were created with teachers on the committee, superintendents, state superintendents, when you read them, they may seem daunting for an individual student you may be thinking of, but overall it's what you would want for your own child. When I look at them as a mom, that's what I would want. So we're going to work towards those.
And that a student in Alabama will have a similar
experience.
Types of experience and standards as a student in Washington State. Then you also mentioned standards-based grading, and that we'd be grading students more on what they are doing as opposed to.
And some of this, and I'll quote Mira Goebel, one of our principals, and she's picked up this term and she calls them soft skills. So we've really separated out what you know about history will be represented in your grade. However, we know a good citizen needs to show up on time, complete their work, be responsible and cooperative. We're still going to report on those characteristics, but we're not going to allow it to inflate or deflate a grade because it really sends a mixed message to families and kids.
So the grade is really more of really what a student is able to know.
About the concepts and the skills that we are trying to help them learn.
My last question is, we've, and your department has done a great deal of work on assessment and how we're individualizing the learning for our students. How has that kind of come about?
It really started with a grant several years ago with Laura Droke, our former special ed director, and I, and it was an opportunity, and I think she thought of me because it always drove me crazy that we had to wait for kids to get 2 years behind before we could legally go in and help them. I said, this is just crazy. And this grant came along and really gave us, in short, permission to identify students immediately and do something outside of the rules. And that has evolved into doing a universal screener for each student each year to see how they're doing in reading and math, and then doing something about it if they're not meeting the grade. And if they already know, how can we accelerate?
It's just so interesting watching students. I mean, for most of the folks that are going to be watching this program, elementary school in particular, but even middle school and high school are so different than it was when we were in school because of that individualization.
And our expectations. I was just talking with our group for leadership, Walla Walla, just about an hour ago, and asked how many been in school, and all of them raised their hands, which was a very good answer, but really talking about really what we want our students to know and be able to do. And as a WAHI graduate, it was 22 credits, and I could graduate. There's that plus a whole lot more these days, and we're here ready to help them get there.
Great. Well, Linda, thank you
very
much. We sure thank Linda as well as the entire Curriculum and Instruction Department for all of their good work. Well, as we move into October, the fall weather is turning. It's more crisp out. The colors are just beautiful outside. And we're getting closer to that winter weather. So start preparing. You never know when that first cold snap is going to come, and we sure want to make sure our kids are prepared for the change in weather. Also, we have some really fun Halloween projects and Halloween activities around our schools, so please be looking for those. Also in October, we have Big Blue Weekend, the weekend of October 4th and 5th, where over 400 Walla Walla High School kids will go to the Washington Family Ranch in Antelope, Oregon, to work on relationships and developing community at that big school of Walla Walla High School, trying to break it down into smaller sections. And I sure thank the group at WAHI that put that together. It's a wonderful activity, and I hope you're going to learn more about that in the future. And also want to remind folks that just at the end of October and early November is a general election. There are three seats for the Board of Directors that are open, and we sure hope that you get out and vote. As always, thank you so much for your support of Walla Walla Public Schools, and hope you have a great October.